Hey, hey, hey. I.Am.She Podcast in the building.
She was crazy.
This has been a weird week. Let me just tell you. And yours is
Why?
coming up, so you about to feel weird for a couple days.
It's your birthday. I just like I say your birthday just passed. Why you feel weird?
Because so when I went into my 30s, um, it was a blur. Like 28 to 30, it happened so fast. I really don't remember anything from 28 and 29. Not that I
Mm-hmm.
was wilding out, but it just was a blur. And
Mm-hmm.
now 38 and 39 has been so slow. And the fact that I spent
Oh
both
yeah.
38 and 39 in the midst of, well, in a pandemic for 37, 38. And then last year it was like, hey, we can do this a little bit. Let's try to do something.
What
But
you do?
this year, like, I think I was just nervous. Huh?
I said, well, what you do? You ain't do that for your birthday yet?
Well, I did something. I went out on my birthday. I went to Ruth's Chris and had a little bougie had a little
Okay.
bougie dinner.
Okay.
And I've had a couple friends that kind of pulled up on me and kidnapped me for a couple hours and taken me somewhere. So it's been
Uh-huh.
something every day. I went to go see a theater and had dinner last
Okay.
night. Um, the event that I do monthly, um, the monthly event that I do, I think they're planning something tonight. So, and then
Okay.
I'm going to.
I feel like 40 is different, so I'm going to just act like I'm in my 20s again. I haven't decided where I wanted to go though. I haven't decided if I want to. I'm looking through these daggone brochures right now, trying to figure out if I want to go to Miami, if I want to go to Orlando, if
Can
I
you
want
hear
to go to
me?
these. Yeah,
It just was, but Friday, by the time
I can't hear you. Went out again. I can't hear you. You went out again.
can you hear me
Can you hear
now?
me now? Yeah, I
Okay,
can hear you.
so
So
it.
it
Oh my God, why am I echoing?
echoing. I agree. Say that.
Oh no, wait a
Oh
minute.
no.
Oh, I gotta mute this. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's not echoing no more.
So, like I said, uh, Wednesday was a blur. Thursday, I was depressed. Friday, I don't know what happened, but I think my sexual energy like turned over to 40 mode. I think I just woke up with so much optimism on Friday.
Okay. I can.
Um,
Where did
and
the
I
depression come from?
said again.
Because I'm like, where did the depression come from? Was it the depression
Well,
that you
this the I mean,
were
getting older in
in?
this community, this culture that we in right now, people throw away people getting older.
Right,
And if you're not 25, 25 is seemingly old now.
right,
So Lord forbid be anything over 25. Like 30, you are basically a senior citizen.
right.
So, the realization, and I was never that person. I grew up with a great grandmother in my home. So
Right.
I always have had so much respect for elders and getting older, and these children just don't have that.
You're
I've
right.
been being called unc since I was probably like 28, 27. Like they have no no respect for aging.
I was going to say. 28 is not old.
It's not like I don't see it as old, but I know the world that we live in. Even older people who are part who want to be, included, they're looking at aging like if you're a certain age, then you don't have it, or you don't, you over the line. You're missing out on it, and um, it's just a weird space to be in right now
That sound
in
like a
terms of getting older.
it sound like a mind game, and you just can't play into it.
Yeah, I mean, for the longest time, I never had issues with getting older. I just never celebrated me,
Right,
and I feel like this year, like I don't open my page is very locked down, meaning you can't post anything to my page or tag me if it's not approved. And this year, I just unlocked all my social media pages and allowed people to like show me love, and I've never had this like this as long as social media has even been a thing in my life. And most people don't even know my birthday. But I think this year I was like, I'm going to celebrate it because everything that could go wrong has been going wrong in the last couple years now. So
right.
let me just throw caution to the wind and I didn't drink, no tequila this year, but aging is definitely and I have a special thing. So I have a cousin, my mother's brother, younger brother. Both of them had children on the same day. So I have somebody to go through this with that's like family. Most people don't have that. Like, so it is definitely it's been a weird week, and I'm just celebrating until the end of the month and maybe beyond. So look out for I might be in your area. You never know.
Just pop up.
This pop this
I
pop
just
up.
told somebody. I just told somebody that the other day. Pop up and pop out.
Mm, I might just
Pop.
do it. Don't tell me. I'm good
Listen,
for a surprise. Hey, I'm here. Knock, knock, knock.
I'm looking through these brochures right now, trying to figure out what I want to do. I
Mm,
got all these brochures. I got Miami, South Beach. What is this? Disney Springs.
Is
What else?
Disney still
West.
open? I heard Disney about to be shut
Yeah,
down.
it's still open. They just Universal. They just went down on the prices. It's like $99 for 3 days.
Ooh, is that like a open pass to all the parks or to each park?
Yeah, it's some type of thing that they doing with all the parks. My mother just told me about it yesterday. It went down to $99. I guess because of all this stuff between them and Ron
The
DeSantos.
Santas.
They doing a whole
Yeah.
bunch of yeah. They doing a whole bunch of
How long is
discounts.
that
So
special? Is that just for a certain period of time?
I don't know. I David is the one that found it, and then my mother said she heard about it on the news. Anything got to do with Disney World, they put it on the news like it's just like the biggest thing going on.
Because
So
that's your economy. That's basically
right.
your economy.
So I have to let me check. I'll have to check with her and
Yes.
see because
Check.
I know
I.M.She is coming to Disney World.
yeah, it's $99 for up to I think it's like up to 3 days. But I don't know like the extent of like the details of how it goes. But
Which
I think
park, if it's a
David said
package or something.
yeah. She know all that stuff. That's where I got all these daggone brochures from her to try to figure out what I
Well,
want to do.
find out because I might, I can extend the B Day celebration
Okay.
and celebrate. I need to get out of this city. I was given an opportunity to move to North Carolina.
Well, what happened? What are you gonna do? You also said you was thinking about moving to California. I told you go to California.
See, California
Yeah.
has a level of fake for me. I've been there several times, and it just has a level of fake to me that I think the phase I am now, because I've been being so honest the last couple days, and I don't think I should move to California. I
Go
can
get your
go there for
girl.
maybe if I audition for something or something, but yeah, because thick is
It's gonna
in
get you in
now,
trouble.
so it is. So
Get to it.
my dream is to live in downtown New York. That is like dream. Um, but right now I would have to be prostituting to afford that. Um,
I mean, between California and New York, the pricing is the same. Because I got a sister that
yeah,
used to live in New York, and they
hmm
lived in like the main part of New York, and they
yeah,
moved. She just moved to LA like 2 years ago from New York. I'm like, dang, you went from one
and
price to
it's
another price.
probably
Good
yeah, but
Lord.
it's still cheaper in California than it is in New York. New York
I don't
is
see how my
still
phone
one of the
died.
most expensive outside.
I've heard
Well, even Nevada is cheap. Like Las
it
Vegas is
is.
cheap to live.
It is. If I wasn't like a person that don't like the cold, I moved to Alaska. You know they pay people to live in Alaska.
I've been there one time,
I've never
and
been.
it was during the season where it stays dark all day.
Oh no,
And I was like, this is, but see, I'm a nighttime person though.
no. How
I
do
work best early in the morning, and I like live and create and do better late at night. So that vibe would, I don't know, that might be outside of the cold.
so how does that work if it's night like all day? Like how does that
Yeah.
work? Like still do like do they still go to work and do stuff like
Yeah,
that?
there it's like a snow day, like what you would do on a snow day. Like if you still got to go to work, you still got to go to work. It's still, um, it's a lot of it. What it felt like was a lot of it just felt slower. It didn't feel like get up and go type of
Yeah.
environment. It felt real southern. Like you know how the South can feel real
That
slow. That's what
that's
it felt
so
like.
depressing. Like you get up and you don't see no sun. You go to bed, you don't see no light. You get
Yeah,
up, you don't see no. That sound depressing.
I was there for a workshop, and I was not motivated not one day.
That's what I said. That sounds depressing. Like no
Yeah.
sunlight.
Yeah. It was definitely, it felt a little like, it felt like a rainy day. You know how I get real cloudy.
Mhm.
Just imagine that. Oh, and then I think they go through that for a whole season.
Mm.
Yeah.
And the
But I
kids got
outside of that, I was
go.
thinking New York, New Orleans, and a friend of mine just moved to North Carolina.
Try
Now,
Carolina. What part?
she is right now, she's in outside of Raleigh,
Okay.
but it's like a small town, and she's like she can't do it, so she wants to move to like did she say Durham or Raleigh?
Yeah.
Like the city spots where it's a
Raleigh
little
is a
faster.
good. I like Raleigh. I went to Raleigh a couple times. They got a nice mall up there. I think it's called Crabtree Mall.
Hmm.
That area was pretty nice. It was pretty decent. It kind of reminded me of it kind of gave me like Columbia vibes. You know, like over there where the cheesecake
Oh,
everything is. It kind of gave me
yeah.
Columbia vibes. I thought that was a really nice area.
Oh, okay. Okay. And it's still quiet, residential, but
Yeah,
you
it's
have some
all I know
access.
is it's the name of the mall. I can remember it's Crabtree Mall. So just like
Yeah.
area that wherever that mall is, it's really nice. It's nice enough where like you said you can where it's still quiet, but you still got a lot that you can have access to, and it's still a lot that you can get into.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, my plan was to at the end of the summer, because I have some stuff that I'm finishing up here and working and stuff like that. So I said at the end of the summer, I'm going to try it out for like 3 months
Okay.
and see what it's like, because I was supposed to go to school in Winston Salem. And when I say that was porch life, like all you wanted to do was sit on the porch and let the breeze hit you drinking your
Right.
lemonade. Like
Lemonade and
that's
tea.
that.
Right.
And I go to Winston Salem like every other year because they have a big theater festival there, that
Mhm.
I go to, and that's the big event for the year. But that only happens every 2 years. So
Mm.
I would go crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it's like. I do have an uncle that stays not too far from there, so but he's older, and we gonna be sitting on the porch, probably,
Freaking
probably.
healing.
But I'm gonna try it and do something crazy.
Don't do it
But I have
turnaround
to
like
do it
everybody
within
else. I don't know how many
setting.
people I know. I said, don't do a turnaround like everybody else. I don't know how many people that I know, like personally,
Mm-hmm.
that moved to North Carolina and turned around and moved back within like a week or so. I'm like, really? I've been down here for 7 damn years and y'all can't even take a week.
Well, I mean, because city life is city life, and it's very hard. I didn't grow up in hood locations or real urban cities, but as an adult, I've mainly lived like in the downtown communities, and it has been. I've only moved outside of the city maybe two times, and I didn't like it. I like to be able to, walk somewhere, or like I walk downtown a lot. Like I like to live where I could get around. Like a car isn't promised to you, money ain't always promised, and I like to still be able to get out and do stuff. So city life,
Mm.
that's why my goal has always been New York. I love New York outside of the rats
Right.
and
That's
the
what I say.
pissy
You ain't
streets.
watched those videos with that big, huge rat.
That's the only thing that keeps me from like going
Ooh,
hard and just moving to New York, because I would have to live either way outside or in a crummy rat infested something. And I don't do mice. So a rat,
you must
baby
know
girl.
right. That's what I girl say.
I can't. I ain't about that life. Mm-mm. I can't. That ain't me. Like I right now, I don't even like. I don't like going out at night in New York unless I'm getting into a Uber or something. Mm-mm.
You know
Because
another
even
good
the
place to live
night
at?
when
Another good place that if you like that type of life, like where it's quiet but it's still fast paced that you can get around. Richmond. Look into
right,
Richmond. Richmond is a new upcoming. I seen that on the list. A
yeah,
new upcoming place to live.
yeah. Because it's real. It's been real city like, but it's like a college town too. So yeah, yeah.
When I lived in
Oh,
Virginia, I lived in Virginia for a whole year, and we
mm,
lived in Petersburg, Virginia, which was only like a couple minutes from Richmond. But we stayed in
yeah,
Richmond like it was around the corner. We stayed in Richmond like y'all stayed downtown. Like that's where the party was. Everything. But I
yeah,
was younger
yeah.
and I lived in the town in Petersburg. I lived right in the area where BSU was, so I lived around a whole bunch of college.
Okay.
So
Oh, you were
although
taking off. That's
I,
what you was doing.
I was trying to tell you, I was living my best life down there. I don't know how many boyfriends I
I
had.
lit. I was a old teen, and this has always been my hesitation in moving, because every time I moved out of the state, it was always somewhere where I felt restricted. I lived in Lynchburg, Virginia,
Ooh, I've been there before.
mm.
I've been
and it
there.
sound it sounds the way it says, and mm,
When we had what our family reunion said.
mm,
I know exactly what you're talking about. We had what our family reunion said. We did not come off that resort.
right. I felt like because we came there, we drove the U-Haul there at night. And the next day, I kind of stayed in the house all day just to get myself unpacked. And the third day, I went out and I felt like I went to sleep in a nice, beautiful rural area, and I woke up in the heat of the night. Like
Right.
I felt like I was in the midst of the civil rights era. That's
Right.
what.
And that's when we drove in the middle of the night. Like you said, we drove there in the
Hmm.
middle of the night to get to
Well,
the resort where the family reunion was. And the whole time me and David driving down these dark roads, the kids asleep. I'm like, I kept looking at him like, you got your thing right. We
yep,
got some stuff right in case we
yep,
got ready. And it just so happened that we get down this road and as I'm driving, I'm getting closer. I see this police like a police car, like I can see the lights coming up ahead of me. I said, Lord, please don't let this be no mess because we like the only car on the road. Don't let this be
Yep.
no mess. Like if we pass him, he gonna get behind us and start doing some stuff. I hate to go to jail for
Hmm.
I hate to have to go to jail as a cop killer, but
Yep.
but
We
he
went
wasn't.
into
Somebody had broke down, so I was
uh,
whoo.
we went into town, and it felt like I was transformed back into the civil rights era. That feeling where you don't see no other black faces. That feeling where people
Right,
are looking at you strange. Like we were literally just trying to explore to see where everything was when we need something. People would look. It was like people had stopped and looked. And my friend, he's like 6'5", basketball player. Like his family had given him a home like down there, and his work he actually was able to work virtually. So he was like, "Let me just go." When we was walking down the street, it just felt we don't belong. And I lived there for a good 3 months, like lived there, and then I began to commute back to Baltimore little by little to like maybe
right.
about a 6 month. I was like, I'm ready. I can't do this no more. I didn't feel
We went
comfortable.
we went to Belts because they had something where everybody had to dress in white and we didn't know. We ended up going to Belts and the same thing. It was a whole bunch of us because I told you it was our family reunion. It was a whole bunch of us in Belts at the same time, and you could see
Mm,
the eyeballs. What is they doing in here? Like,
mm.
like you want to say so bad, bitch, I'm from Baltimore. Like,
But you don't want to be hung from no tree because ain't
right,
nobody down there but you.
right.
There's nobody there but you.
Right. I said,
Mm-mm.
why would they choose
Yeah.
this place to have a family reunion out of all the places? Where did y'all even find this place? But it turned out to be a really nice resort. It was a horse farm, but it also had like resort features. Like it had lakes and it had
Yeah.
um they were it was almost like a camping ground. Like everybody
Yeah.
had little rooms with the little some of them had like the little bunk beds, like little dormitory type rooms. It ended
Yeah.
up turning out to be really nice. And although we was in that area, the people, that the other people that were on the resort, they were just so nice. They was coming over and when they seen us fishing and stuff like that, they would talk to us. So it ended up being nice as long as we didn't go outside of that resort. We was good.
Wrong. And they get paid to be nice. So
Right.
you gotta you
But
gotta
it
think
was a
about
lot
that.
of it was a lot of us coming from all walks of life. Yeah, I think we would have had it. It was a lot of
They
us.
had, I'm sure they had a APB. We have this huge black party here.
Right.
Mm-mm.
It was a lot of us, but you could see like on the side where like I said, it was a horse farm, and they had like the kids. I guess some people did horse riding, some kids did horse riding, and like when we went over there to go look, you can see the eyes kind of looking at us like, what is they doing here?
Hmm. Exactly. And it's one thing when you're just, like out toasting or something, and people, somebody may be looking, but when you can physically see time stop and everybody's slow motion look like it, that's what it felt like. So imagine living somewhere like that for
I know.
about 6 months. And I was like, mm-mm,
I wouldn't have came
mm-mm.
out the house. I didn't do it. The card.
Well, at that
Just
time, those,
say
I mean, at that time, they had like a delivery service for one market, but everything else
yeah.
you had to go out. So we never shopped in town. We always went to this town over to do any shopping. Cause I never wanted to be like, never be caught by the what would they say, never be caught in sundown. Like that was,
Right.
we never went anywhere without each other. Like it was that.
Yeah,
So,
that's not a good area to stay in. That's not comfortable.
mm-mm, it was not. Like the whole time we was there, I may have seen like maybe two black families, and they look like the ones that damn near passing.
Mm.
Like, and they were looking at us strange. So I was like, I felt like I was in a twilight zone. I did.
It's time for me to go back home.
Yes, yeah. We was there. We did everything. The house was really nice. They had really modernized it. We did everything in the house.
Yeah, but it don't matter
Everything.
if you can't stay there and be comfortable in your own home.
Mm-mm. It
So
was so bad. even the movie theater, we only went like in the daytime, or we only went like to like early dinners. We never went to anything late night. He
But
wound
you
up
know what
when I
though?
said I was ready to go. He wound up starting to sell a house, and I left
But
his ass there.
But you know what? That's what I'm going to say. I wouldn't even have sold it. Because you know what my mother told me? My mother gave me some good advice. She said the best thing to do for stuff like that, like for instance, down here, where you kind of
Hmm.
know certain areas in Florida, they don't want you to be here. The best
Right.
thing to do for something like that, I wouldn't even have sold the house. I'd have rented it to them and it had them pay me without even
Mm.
knowing that I'm the landlord. You know what I'm saying? Even had
Well, he
like
did that.
a
He
property
did that for the first like maybe he did that for the I think like I'll say the next 6 months he did that because he just wasn't. He literally just worked from home, and I was
right.
working and creating, but I would commute here every weekend, like so. It was just tough. It was really tough, and it was. Well, I don't know what he eventually did after the 6 months, but I know. I hope he would have kept it because the house was paid for. All he had to do was pay the taxes on it and do the groundskeeping, which was
Yeah.
like a couple $100 a month to do that, and then the taxes on it was barely nothing. But I know he
Mm.
doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah, I would have just made it a consistent income, source of income.
Hmm. But yeah, but other than that, this has been a very this is an interesting time. I know the topic today is, signs of. I titled it today. The signs of a quiet call for help.
Okay.
But I know you wanted to talk about suicide and
See,
suicide
this
prevention.
topic, I don't know. Crystal did this topic this week.
Hmm.
That's what the
But
hell
I
is
would I would
this? I'm
comfortably
just
like
kind
to
of
speak about it from like where we were from last week. It is very easy. I think it's very
okay.
easy for people to say snap out of it or um get yourself together. Because especially as Black people, we know how to do tough love, and I think
Right.
culturally we became accustomed to that um type of mentality where we just gotta tough through things.
Right.
And I think the generation that we're in right now, or the culture rather, because it's not just a certain age group, where people have their hearts on their sleeve and they're comfortable walking around with their traumas like
Yeah.
it's an outfit. I think because people have never had a space to really be themselves
Yeah.
and really have a voice and really have. So you see a lot of people that are, especially men too, that are overly emotional. Um, but I think in this, we have to go back to a middle ground where everything isn't a trigger. Everything isn't, you know, a cry for help. Everything isn't, and because there are people who are being overlooked because there's so many people that have mental health issues right now.
Hmm.
And often the people who are getting overlooked are that section that are going through real tough things and considering suicide.
Right.
That what I said last week. Like we're in a space where no bad vibes. I don't want no bad vibes around me. But what does that mean though?
True.
Because we've made people struggle look like a negative behavior. And it's negative people who lying and stealing and cheating and killing. That's negative behavior, not somebody who is struggling with a mental disorder or going through an anxiety attack. Or I don't think that that's negative behavior. That is a cry for help. Like, but I don't know. I don't. I guess I don't know.
All right. Well, we can touch on it. We are still ending at 1 o'clock because me and Gemma
Yeah,
have a movie date.
you got a date.
I said me and Gemma have a movie. Oh, she told me not to call it a date. Me and Gemma have a movie day.
Um, Oh,
We're
yeah. Y'all going to see the Little Mermaid?
We definitely are going to see a Little Mermaid in 3D. You know, I was on it.
You're gonna be. It's. I'm gonna let you watch it.
I'm gonna be by myself because that them theaters look so empty. I said that's okay. I'm still gonna support her.
And that's the. I just want us to understand those things. Like us to go out and support, and us to go out and fill up the seats and.
Hmm. David said he gonna go too. I didn't want him to go. I wanted it to be me and Gemma, but he was like, "I'm gonna go," because you know he's a daddy's girl. So he's like, "I'm gonna go. I want to go see it with my daughter." I'm like, ugh.
It's definitely a children's film, but I
Yeah,
think as adults we can appreciate it because we've been watching all these white and non-black representations
yeah,
in, say, Disney or cartoons and stuff as we grew up. So we'll still appreciate it for seeing some color,
right.
some being
One, I seen the trailer.
um. I mean, it's more than the trailer focused in because the trailer was, in my opinion, was trying to soften some of the people who had an issue with it.
Issue with it, right?
But you see some,
I'll say
it's more than just her and the crab. So
that's fine as long as we here to support it the same way we
yeah.
support Jordan. I'm okay
So
with an empty theater. I'm fine with it.
that's my favorite thing because I hate other people
Right,
talking and
right.
making noise
Gotta
and
look
getting
over their
up.
head and all of those stuff. I'm good with it.
Yep, yep.
All right, last one.
So um, what direction do you want to go with this? I don't want to just talk about the death part of it, but maybe the sign.
Right. I wanna um more about what you were saying, like what does tough love look like now? What should we be looking, at as far as like you said with the tough love part? Oh, it's just tough love. We just allowing them to be them. But what should it look like now, knowing that, suicide is becoming more of a thing to people, like that they have no other alternative. Like what should you know what I'm saying? Like tough love, it should look different in this day and
Well,
age compared to back.
I'll say, so speaking from a perspective of having lost a couple friends due to, well, a friend and my cousin who killed themselves. It's that thing of if you've never had this thing happen to you, you don't know what it feels like.
Right,
Um, to have to sit at a funeral or hear news that someone killed themselves. But but it's in today's world, and I don't think this is a new thing. Suicide isn't always I took pills, I jumped off a bridge, I shot myself in the head. Like it, that is what we've known it to be commercially. Like that's what we see on TV and
right,
movies. But suicide is overeating, not taking care of your health,
right.
um,
The
drug
signs
use.
of depression, yeah. All
Right,
depression, yeah.
right. And those things, drug addiction is not the problem. That is the behavior that that person has adapted. But once a person has let go, and we see this in people, we see this in a lot of older people. We are now seeing this in a lot of younger people when they detach themselves. So there are physical signs that a person is letting go. They start giving away stuff. They start detaching themselves from family and friends. But a lot of that stuff is the beginnings and the process of depression also.
Right,
But like you said, so starting with the idea of what tough love is, I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's healthy when I see parents doing it to children, siblings doing it to each other. family members and friends, when someone is outwardly struggling with something, for us to be hard on them. Not to say you got to be soft and cotton candy, but if somebody is already struggling, you yelling and screaming at them or being super rude and direct with them is not helpful, in my opinion.
Right. That's true.
But that's just my opinion. I don't like to be talked to like that.
Right.
Yelling and screaming at me, even when I'm in the wrong, is not healthy because I've learned how to tune that out.
Right. So then that still goes back into last week's topic when we were talking about, the communication styles.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
You have to figure out somebody's communication style to be able to effectively help them.
Right. But if you already have all this stuff that you are trying to hold in your arms, you know, speaking, figuratively, and I come to you with more, even if you're trying to help me, it's not helpful because you're just making that load heavier for me.
Right.
So I guess I'll ask you the question: when you have ever been in a depressed state, what has been helpful? What has not been helpful?
So for me
Hmm.
personally, I'm still trying to find that balance.
What helps you and what doesn't?
I'm still trying to find that balance. I think
Hmm.
about it every day. What helps me to, to not feel or get in that depressive state. I'm really just still trying to find that balance. So I can't, from my own personal experience, say that I found it yet. I'm still searching.
Hmm. Hmm. But no. So I think my question was in terms of someone else trying to be helpful or somebody giving you tough love, what works for you and what doesn't work for you?
I'm not a talker. I don't want to sit
Mm,
there and talk about it. Um, I'd rather do de-stressing exercises. I
okay.
don't be a hugger. Um, Weirdly enough, if you want if to talk to somebody, um, I can't physically sit there in front of you and have a conversation. Like it has to
So you
be
need space.
right. That's for me to be comfortable enough to come to you, or you know what I'm saying, or um, I don't know. It's hard. It's really hard to kind of.
But are you the person that communicates that or do you just go off to yourself?
I won't communicate it. I'll go off to myself. Just give me some
Mm.
time. Just give me some time. Give me some peace. Let me work through it in my own mind.
But that's hard for people. That's hard for people who love you, who want to be there, and not
It
all of
is.
them love you. It's hard for people. It's very hard
It
for people
is.
to just not make it about them.
It definitely is. But I mean, like I said, you have to. It goes back to just understanding, people communication style, like how people prefer to be, to communicate, how they prefer to. You just have to understand that. And I mean,
Mm,
sometimes it's just a matter of somebody just in being fearful, of what you may do while you by yourself. So I can understand that too.
yeah. I remember one of my first interactions with somebody on that verge. We lost. I was in my immediate family. I was the only boy for years. I never had any boy cousins until my aunt had a son, Antonio. Antonio passed away from SIDS um, back in the 90s. And that, we didn't really know much about it at
Right.
that point. We didn't know it was, a certain way you supposed to lay a baby in a crib and all that. And he passed away. And he was so young. I think Antonio wasn't even 8 months yet. And it was devastating to all of us because I think the family and all of their different ways kind of latched onto him because it was a new baby. You know, when a baby comes, it feels like
Yeah,
a chance for everybody to get it right again.
yeah, it's
And
exciting.
my aunt, who baby it was, wasn't capable of taking care of the baby, so my aunt Kathy took on the baby, and she raised that baby from the day my aunt brought him home to her house. And the death of that baby, I think a lot of guilt, like what did I do? Because at that point, SIDS was something that they were starting to promote more, in terms of infants and babies and how you should sleep. So because there was so little information at that time, it was automatically the way you put this baby in the bed was wrong. That's what
Right.
it felt like. So and he was a big baby, a big chunky baby. So he rolled over and could not roll
Oh,
himself back over.
heard that before.
And she took that to heart. Like she took it to heart. And I remember walking in on her taking a bunch of pills.
Oh, gee.
And I remember her being in the bathroom and I walked in on her taking a bunch of pills and about to take, like, she was literally about to put all those pills in her mouth. And she was like, "Don't say nothing." And I was like, "Okay." And I just walked out, I shut the door, and I ran right to my mother to
That's what
tell
I
her.
was gonna say. Did you say something?
I was like, okay, but I didn't want her to like do
You
something
saying,
in
yeah,
that. Wasn't worried about what she would do to me. I was worried about what would she do in front of me. Because
right.
at that point she was just numb. You could tell how numb she was. And I remember that was my first indication that you could harm yourself. Before that, you may have seen stuff in movies, but I had never seen anything in my life. That cousin of mine, that cousin and friend, that happened years later. I was already an adult at that point. Um, and it really just was an eye opener. Like you can't really in that moment control. And then it was years later that I personally experienced depression to that level. And in that moment, it's very little that you can do. You know, my mother didn't yell at her, but we just knew we all had to take turns watching her. We could not let her be by herself. And
Now,
you saying that, it makes it hard for people to ask for help because you don't want anybody, crowding you, but you do want to, you don't want that. I don't think suicide is a feeling of I got to do this. It's for
right,
me, it's a cry for attention. Like, please pay attention to me. But I think depending on who you are, what does that attention look like? I think that's what I got from what you just said.
right. Um, not. Well, I not necessarily. Cry out for attention.
Hmm.
For me, it's more like so. I have been to that point in my life when I first lost my brother. I was to
Yeah.
that point where I didn't even really. You ever drove to work, and then you get there in front of the job and not even know how you got there.
Yeah. Hmm.
I was like that for months. I'm literally driving on the highway every day from Middle River to Columbia, driving on the highway every day. And I don't know how I got there. I swear I don't. I don't know how I got in front of that door. I don't know where I started, where I ended. And mind you, I'm going from Middle River to Columbia, so you have to go through that tunnel. That was really weird. Like, how did I even get through this tunnel without even crashing? But right when you're coming the opposite way from Columbia to Middle River, before you get through that tunnel, I think it's
Hmm.
the harbor tunnel where
Hmm.
you can see where the boats and stuff, and it's almost like a
Yeah.
bridge. A lot of people in my family don't know. Probably nobody knows this, but there were more days than there were more days than I can think where I just wanted to let the wheel go. I just felt
Mm.
if I let the wheel go, I'd be okay. But also in my mind, as I thought about, okay, if I just let the will go, I'm just let the will go. I'm just gonna let it go. At any given time, I'm just gonna. I can't think of how many days I had that same thought in my head. But then at the same time, something else is fighting me in the back of my mind, where it's like, how would you feel as a parent to no, how would you feel to know that you put that burden on your mother again? The second thought in my mind was this, it on from the aspect of losing, in the manner of losing my brother, and the fact that his son is here, and watching him physically had to go on that stand, had to talk about everything that happened. The thought of the thought process of what he could possibly think at the fact that he actually sat there and looked outside that window and physically in his eye has to relive that memory of seeing his father get shot in front of him.
Mm.
To put my kids in that same shoe, that it hurts me deeply to know that he has to go through that. To put my kids in that same situation would be crazy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's what talked me off the cliff, but nobody knew that. And
But I
this is
think
a time
that's the
where
same
I
way your
had,
body fights germs. I think your mind does the same thing.
absolutely. And it's crazy because to this day, nobody knows those thoughts that I had.
Hmm.
Nobody. Well, everybody know now, but
Yeah.
but nobody, not even my own husband, knew those. He knew to watch me. Now he didn't know to watch me.
Yeah.
He would be on it, and when I'm home, he knew to consistently watch me. I was at a point where I would eat, I come straight home from work, and I go right in that bed. I get underneath that blanket. Sometimes I would hold myself in the bathroom for hours, and he would consistently come in there and check on me. What are you doing?
Mm.
What's going on? And to me, it started to become irritating. Like, why you keep on coming bothering me? Just give me my space. Like, you don't understand what I'm going through. Just give me my space. But in fact, he did, because years prior to my own situation, he had a best friend, a really close, and my husband really doesn't have a lot of friends that he called close friends because of where,
Hmm.
his background, his upbringing, and where he come from. And he finally found this one person when we lived in North Carolina that was his best friend. Like, they ride out for each other, like to the point where he would leave him. And if you understand from a man's aspect, this is his saying, to the point where I would leave him in the house with my wife to run to the store, and I know that he will protect the house before he did anything to my wife. I
Hmm.
would leave him to, like, don't get me wrong, his best friend was a thug. Like, he was gang tied, like I don't know what. That's all he wore was red. He was gang affiliated, gang tied, like I don't know what. And I didn't like the fact of my husband being around him because of that, that situation. But when I got to know him, to talk to him, and on the outside looking in, if you ever met this guy, you'd be like, I won't want no deals with him. I don't want no ties with him. He can get me killed just walking outside on my front porch. He
Right.
just like somebody that you would really probably fear to be around. But to actually get to know him, talk to him, and actually see him come physically, he would physically come in our house when they was going to work. Um, and get down on the floor with the kids like a 2-year old and play with the little toys. My, Cameron at the time was only like 2 or 3, and Cameron would come with his little Hot Wheels car. He'd get down there on his stomach with Cameron and be playing, riding the car all around and everything. That was just his heart. But on the outside, which is what his upbringing was, it wasn't anything that could be controlled for him, at the fact that, he was just, and he was really like gang tied, gang affiliated. And that was just where he came from. That was his background. That's where he came from. That's where his family came from. That's all he knew. That's all he knew. So you can't rightly blame him for, his decisions. But to actually get to know him, if you were a friend, he was that guy. if you was truly a friend and you got to know him, his heart was genuine. He was a good guy. And my husband came home from work. My husband ended up getting him a job.
Mhm.
He came home from work um because he left work early. So my husband got off from work and he would always stop at his house when he didn't come from work to check on him to make sure, like I said, he still had gang affiliation. So when he didn't come to work, my husband kind of got like, let me go check on him. He would stop at the house before he even came home. He would stop past his house just to check in on him. You okay? Everything. And particularly that one day, he didn't come to work. And my husband kept telling him, won't you just come on? You can leave early. Won't you just come on? Da, da, da. He, for some reason, I don't know if my husband felt it or whatever have you, but for some reason, he said, I kept trying to get him to come to work. Like, don't miss this day. You're going to get more points. Da, 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 da. We can go do this afterwards if that's what you want to do. But he just decided he did not want to go to work that day. And that day that he decided he didn't want to go to work, my husband came from work, stopped past his house as usual, but only this time when he stopped past his house, he seen yellow tape. And he was able to
Mm.
get so close that he seen him in a car, in his car, sitting in his driveway, slumped over the wheel.
Mm.
Slumped over the wheel. Somebody had shot him in the head
Oh my
and
goodness.
left him there.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Driveway. So my husband's that's the image that plays in his mind. That he last picture of his best friend he seen slumped over the wheel.
Mm.
Come to find out the person that shot him was a friend over a
Yeah.
cell phone that he asked for the cell phone back. When he asked for the cell phone back, the guy was on the phone with a girl. So when he asked for his cell phone back, he said, come on, I let you hold it. I need it back. Because he was on the phone with a girl, he felt like he was trying to show him up. And he pulled the gun out and shot him in the head.
Now.
And like,
Mm.
and
Mm.
so not going off topic, but I'm saying that to say that in those moments when I felt like, you know, I just want to be left alone. And I looked at my husband like, why are you bothering me? Just leave me in this bathroom. You don't know what I'm going through. I had to start pulling myself back, like, get off your high horse. Think about what he's going through. And he's never broken down, showed his emotion, anything like that. So you doing what you doing, even though you going through what you going through, you have to be mindful because you can push him over the edge because he still ain't never showed his true self of the struggle of what he saw.
But look at how complicated this is. We are in a space where we have so much built up trauma and struggle and stress that in the midst of our own struggle, I still have to think about those people around me.
Absolutely.
It is
Is
it
it
is a
healthy?
hard it's hard like I- and that was part of my argument last week. We are so focused on our journey. Even when I'm trying to help you go through something, I'm speaking from a space of my own trauma, my own struggles. We have so much that so many layers to us that don't belong to us that we
Absolutely.
have to get through to get to our own. And many people die before they get to that final layer of themselves. We dealing
Absolutely.
with so much guilt because I don't have enough to do this, or I haven't paid enough time, or I didn't pay enough attention, and we're so and that's why when someone dies, I typically don't know what to say because I have so many unresolved issues with deaths that I've had in my family, with other stress that I sometimes don't know what to say.
I literally just had that personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
one of our very first viewers from the show. We got to go back a little bit to like the very first couple of shows. She was one of our very first viewers. Her name was Lisa, and
Hmm.
passed away last week. They found her 2 days after she was dead. She had a cardiac, I believe she had a cardiac something. They said she went to cardiac arrest or something like that.
Right.
Um, guess who found her though? She lived in PA. The
Hmm.
family had been trying to reach her for about 2 days, and they started to realize this is not like her. So
Yeah.
her daughter, on that third day when nobody couldn't get in contact with her, got off of work and actually drove up there, and she found her. She had been in her house
Mm.
for about 2 days. She died 2 days. Nobody even knew for about 2 days. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
Not even a neighbor. Like nothing. And it was really weird to me because I watched her live, I watched her social media, and she, the type of person that she was, like always out talking to people. She see her neighbors, she's good morning, hey. So that was really surprising that for 2 days she was able to be alone in her house like that, and nobody thought that to be off to me. You know how when
Yeah.
you got that one neighbor that you consistently see, they
Yeah.
consistently, like, you see them consistently walking down the street, you see them in the markets, you see them just sitting on the steps, that this is their routine every day. You know them at least 3 times sitting on their front porch. I'm gonna see them at least 3 or 4 times walking up and down the street. They're gonna knock on a day.
Right.
But for 2 days, almost three to go past, and nobody noticed, that was weird for me.
That's a fear. That's a fear of mine because when you live alone and you have a certain routine, people get used to it. But when you live
Right.
alone, something can happen. Like it's very easy for that to happen. And because you
But
live alone, nobody is. And I have the type of home where I don't have a lot of guests coming to my home. So it's not like you came here last week and then you come here today and you can't get in and you see that I'm home and you know that I'm home. Like, but that's a scary. But again, like we just made the last point, we have grown so accustomed to not communicating that somebody can find your dead body 3 months later. And yeah, people have tried to call you or Facebook you and you didn't return. But we hear that on the news all the time where someone was in their home dead for months.
all the time,
And the
all
only
the
thing that kept and the only thing that prevented it from getting to months was a bill collector, or you didn't pay your rent and the landlord came and knocked on the door, and stuff like it takes extraordinary things like that for people to even notice because we don't communicate.
we
I'm
don't.
guilty of that. I've stayed
But
away from family and most of my friends for almost 5 years, literally all of my family. So that could have very, and that's a stress trigger for me because I always try to call somebody or post something so you can see like, oh, Nate not posting, or he
what?
didn't.
And she posts like she's one of
Huh?
those people that's on live like
Yep.
every day. That really like threw me off, that nobody never, like, it never dawned on, like, she posts, like, I mean, at least 3 4 times a day she posts. She's one of those people that posts everything. She's one of those people that posts her food, posts her meals, posts her getting a new couch, on live, just to say, hey y'all, I'm out here with my friends just sitting on the porch. Hey y'all, I'm walking down the street. Hey y'all, I'm sitting on the bus stop. For 2 days to just go by, that was crazy. But going back to that point, I didn't want to get off topic.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I experienced that, what you just said, that was going back to that point, because that was the first thing that my mother told me to do was, reach out to her daughter and just, send your condolences. I don't know how to have those conversations with people. So it literally took me almost to that night to call her daughter to say, hey, I am so sorry to hear about you, because I don't know how to communicate with people when things like that happen. But I did.
Yeah.
I did it. I said I'll just text her. My mom was like, "You can't text her. She's like family. We grew up together. Y'all, they're going slept in the same bed for sleepovers. You can't just text her." And I said, "You know what? You're right. I can't." But it took a lot out of me to physically sit there and say, how do I talk to this person? What kind of conversation? Because she's literally been there for everything. She's been there. My grandmother raised them when they raised her mother when she was younger. My grandmother raised her a little bit when, on and off when they had hard times. My grandmother raised her daughter like another granddaughter. So we
Right.
really like really tight knit, almost like family. So and they were there for my brother's funeral, they were there for my grandmother's funeral. We've been there. So it was like, you can't send a text message. And then I got to see what my mother was saying, like, no, kid, you can't send a text message. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't send a text message when you lost your brother. She called you. And she came over to the house when you lost your brother, even though you didn't want to talk to anybody. The fact that she came over, she sat down, had that uncomfortable conversation. You need to show the same thing. You need to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it took me almost to the end of the day to call her because I just didn't know what to say.
But and that's not like you a malicious person. We have really learned not to communicate. We don't want to seem like we are a burden. We don't want to say the wrong thing. We don't want to let people know we're struggling for whatever reason.
Right.
But it is
And that was
definitely
my aspect. That was my aspect of it. I don't want to feel like a burden. And it's crazy because I called her. She didn't answer right then, but she called me right back. I said, "Oh, I wasn't bothered." She said, "You are never a burden. I'm taking calls. I'm fine. I'm okay to talk. I can take calls. I really just appreciate the fact that you reached out to me." So had I not had that conversation and I get a text like I originally did, you know what I'm saying?
right,
How much
right.
different that would have been. Just hearing
Mhm.
her say that you are not burdened. You're not burdened. I'm okay. I'm appreciative of the fact that you called and reached out to me.
Mm, yeah. I think we're seeing that now more than ever. Um, but it also happened like if you just simply lose somebody, people are dying because they're not receiving the nurturing that they need to get through simple life struggles.
And
Death is a simple life struggle. It's very complicated. I'm not trying to reduce death, but it happens every day.
it
It's
does.
a routine process. You know, the reason people go rogue and close off when stuff happens to them is because of how people respond.
How we respond, absolutely.
And that's why people choose to die alone. Or they have how many people do we know are in stage 4 cancer and they just up and die? And you're like, well, I was just talking to that person. Or that person just texted me the other day and they ain't never say nothing to me. I knew they was sick, but they ain't say nothing to me. Well, because they wanted to be treated normally.
Right.
But at the same time, people are struggling with things on a daily basis that we have no recollection of. And because
Right.
I may be going through something that's tough in my life, I don't see you. So your little baby problems are just get over it. Because
Mm-hmm.
we have
You know
accustomed ourselves to living through struggle. And we often, you know why people are always on social media posting everything about themselves? Because they have nobody else to do that with.
do that with, right?
Even the people that are around them, it is very possible to have. I'm an artist. I live in spaces where there are always people. I rarely create on my own. Outside of my jewelry, I rarely create on my own with everything else. Podcasting. I don't like doing podcasts by myself. I like having a co-host or guest,
Right.
you
Me
know,
too.
so on and so forth. I'm a theater person. There's always at least two other people in a space with me, at
Right.
least. But it is very possible to feel alone in a room full of people. I
It
just
is.
I spoke to you all a like a month ago. I had my mother's first cousin and her younger brother pass within a week of each other. Their funerals was in a day separated them. I remember going to. They didn't have the normal funeral for my cousin. Whereas we had the funeral, but they didn't go. We didn't go to somebody's house. I came back home. Never happened in my family like that. My uncle was a little bit different, but it was two different wakes because people couldn't get along. And I remember sitting in my mother's house that I hadn't been in for over 5 years, being transparent. I felt so alone in that room because I've been going through whatever I'm going through and went through the pandemic alone, basically, and all. But I was sitting in that room feeling like all the people around me was talking. And a couple people called me after or pulled me to the side and was like, Nate, this is not you. This is not, I don't know what life is giving you right now, but you're normally the life of the party. And I was like, and I'm typically a shy person, but around people I'm familiar with, I can open up and be
Right.
comfortable. But
Right.
I sit there and I really wasn't even doing anything on my phone. I was just trying to avoid interactions with people.
Yeah.
And you just never know what people are mentally or physically or spiritually going through. And we always, the one thing when someone's struggling with anything, I ain't had the money, I don't got it to give, or, I don't have the time, I got to work, I got to take care of my home. Sacrificing a moment to simply pick up your phone and call somebody or say hello. I wanted to be alone because I was going through so much during the pandemic, trying to deal with that space and that silence. Like for people, I would just send them a Instacart order or a Grubhub order that day. Just to show them that I was thinking about them. But again, you don't know what people are going through. And I hate when people sit on pedestals and judge other people for lives they don't know how they are getting through that. Sometimes when you have a person that's coming outside and they may look down or depressed, and we almost victimize them, or not victimize them, we blame them for being in a struggle. Yeah, it may be their decisions that got them to that point, but I say this a lot about black people. We're the only culture of people who get mad at people for having mental disorders.
Right.
Like people are really angry at Kanye.
Right.
And
Or
we say alongside everything we say bad about him, we say, oh, he lost his mom, or, I know his marriage was difficult trying to deal with somebody we say all the things that are contributing to it, but then we still are angry at a person but for physically showing that they're going through something. So why would anybody come to you when they needed something? Or when they
right.
needed somebody to say, why would anybody come to you?
One of the biggest things um, that they say at my job, one of the biggest things, every job has a mission. Um, and one of the biggest things that they always say is compassion. Be compassionate. Be
Yeah.
compassionate. Be
Hmm.
understand.
Yeah.
Empathize. Empathize. That's what they say. Empathize.
Empathy. Yeah.
And I think that has become more like people have turned it around to more of when they see people, consistently on social media. Social media, let's just start there. Social media has become a real big trigger when it comes to judging people and looking at looking at people or not knowing or not understanding what a person is going through, because everybody is always so plagued on social media. Everybody posts different, or they only post the good stuff. Most people only post the good stuff. Oh, I'm here in Jamaica, here in Miami. Oh, I'm living my best life. But like you said, the facade underneath all of that, those same people that are struggling just to physically
Hmm.
be here.
Look at Jamie Foxx right now. People are mad at him. They're mad at the people around him. They're mad at his daughter for not giving them an update on his health. Nobody said, well, hey, let's give their family space.
Space.
Let's
Right.
give them space because whatever he may be going through, may something he may not experience before. Maybe the openness that his life was too much for him, or whatever we go right to. Well, damn, somebody could say something.
Right.
Yeah, somebody could say something, but out of respect for him, they aren't.
Absolutely.
But we got in a space where we get mad when, and not to make this about celebrities, but they're humans. And
They are.
because you bought a couple tickets, a couple albums, some merchant, it does not give you right to someone's story.
Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
take that on a local level. We get so nosy and we get mad at people because
And
they
I
don't share with us. But baby,
right. And I see that
if
a
I'd have
lot.
told you what I was going through, you would have told me you ain't have time.
Right. And you see that, what bothers me is that I see that, especially I always get this cringe. I don't know if you see what's the one Facebook page, Murder Inc. Baltimore, or Murder Inc. or something like that. It's the Baltimore
Yeah.
page. I
hmm
always cringe when I see that one person is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. What happened?" Like, why the hell would you put that on there? Like, why is that your? Why you couldn't have just started and ended with, "I'm so sorry. I'm sending my condolences." It's always that one person, no matter what post you go to under Murder Inc. It's always that one person. Oh, she was so the girl that just got killed, the pretty little girl that just got killed out in Essex in that road.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Somebody physically put that, like, it was like the second one after. It was like a relative that went on there. It was like, yeah, my poor niece. I hope justice comes and we get justice for her and rest in peace, baby. And right underneath that, somebody had literally wrote, and I'm like, you really have the nerve. They literally wrote underneath that, oh, she's so beautiful. What happened to her? And I'm like, what? How could you actually have the nerve to even do that?
And well, you know what? You know what's happening? Our sensibilities as a black culture are going out the window. All the traditions, you know, all the things that we used to know to do or our go-tos when anything happened. We all want to know what happened, how they died, what happened to them. You know, who gonna get the money? Like those are natural. We are naturally nosy people as black people. We want to know those things. But something has happened where there's no line of demarcation anymore where that's not the appropriate time.
Right,
Or let them bring it up to me.
right.
We all have the question in our mind, but like you said, I'm thinking about, it's so many different things, but we we do want to know those things, but is a time and place
Ah,
for that.
that's what I was getting ready to say. It's a time and place.
Is a time and place for it. And I believe social media has given people freedom and free reign to be able to say whatever's on their mind, no matter
Man.
who. I always like is a word that I hate using. I hate when the media use it or I see it in a headline when it says Tina Turner dead at 83. I don't know. When I see that phrase somewhere, it just does me all the way wrong. It just does something to me because we've lost respect and dignity and class.
Right,
We're just willing to go right to the salaciousness of it.
right.
Like, what about the family member that has to read that
That,
or scrolls across that or, a grandchild that never got to meet that person years later, looking that person up and have to see dead?
yeah,
Like, I just hate, it's a word, I know it is, but I hate that word associated with someone's life or with
absolutely.
an event. I hate it.
They could write it just as, they could write it a lot more, a lot less malicious, like as if a family member passed away, or gained her flowers, or you know what I'm saying, any type of way.
And Deidre, hey Deidre, she says, speak on it and share what you're going through, and no one cares. A lot of people are just very wrapped up in themselves.
That's true.
And but again, and even that's perspective of it, where you go to people and it feels like they reverse the information that you give to them. Well, a lot of us are living through things that are not natural, and we put that expectations on other people to respond and to live and to go through the things the way we go through things. And that's a thing that I had to learn within myself. I cannot put my expectations. I don't like using that word. I don't like when people assume that in me, like when they put I that's one thing I will cut you off for, expectations. Because these are things that you haven't even grasped in your mind, but you're putting those sensibilities on other people, or assume sensibilities on other people, because it makes you comfortable.
Right.
And we have to get to a space where, on both sides, on every side of this argument, we are dealing with ourselves. So our traumas and our triggers and our struggles do not spill over into the various relationships in our lives. We can no longer continue to walk around. Yes, now we're in a space where people are open and they can um, speak their mind and have a voice and speak to their struggles and their pain. But you cannot continue to now walk around with those things and almost create this shield around yourself with your traumas. So that's learning how to speak to each other.
Right.
No, you can't talk to me any kind of way. No, you can't deal with me any kind of way, because that's how you feeling. Well, guess what? The way you're feeling is based off of the bullshit that's in your life that you're not dealing with. And now you're putting that struggle into a situation where it doesn't belong. How many of us know working by that person at work who does that? Or that person we go to school with like that? That person we lay down beside that's like that? Our friendships, our family, at family events, at functions, on social media, people feel like they can say whatever because
Ever.
they've had to deal with it.
Right. Just because just because you overcame that same struggle, don't automatically assume that if I can do it, you can do it. Everybody's circumstances is different. Some people are stronger than other people. It may take some people a little bit longer to overcome the same thing, even though it was the same circumstances. It may take some people longer. And let me tell you, the best doctor I had when I was going through my depression, the best doctor that I had, and she wasn't even a psychologist. She was just my regular primary doctor, but she just noticed something was off about me. She said, I'm not even doing your physical. We're going to get down to the root of what's going on with you. That's a good doctor. And the best thing that she told me, she said, "You who tells you that's a time frame where you have to be healed?
Yeah,
Who told you that?"
yeah,
That
yeah.
I lost my husband that I've been married to for some years. I don't know exact years, but she said I lost my husband. But you know, when I started grieving, it took me to the third year of losing my husband to actually start grieving about the loss of my husband. This is a doctor that's telling me that.
Mm-hmm. Because
Who
she was
tells
probably putting everybody ahead of her own grieving process.
you? Absolutely. But that's the best advice that she could ever give. When I looked at it that way, oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
No time frame. And that was my issue with
Yeah.
all the other psychiatrists that I had ever spoke to, all the other psychologists I had ever, the counselors that I ever spoke to, they always kept telling me, and that was my trigger word, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. I don't want to hear that right now. So no, now you're X'd out. Now I got to find a new psychologist, because if this is going to be the conversation every time I come here, I'm wasting my money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 But where are we right now with it's hard. And that's part of why what we was talking about in the very top of the show, that's one of the reasons I think turning 40 was a struggle for me because everything that I've had to experience in the last couple years have been very eye-opening. And I almost didn't even feel I deserved to cross that threshold of 40 yet because there was so many things that was piling up and so many relationships that I put off to the side because I just could not deal with the selfishness of other people anymore.
Right.
I couldn't. And I felt myself being affected by it
Mm.
because there's no reason that somebody should be hungry at night or evicted or um alone because they're being abused or neglected. Nobody should feel neglected. When we have all these people who claim to know us, and I
Don't
looked at
think
if you
about
look at
why.
my if you look at my Facebook page, it is all of these expressions of happy birthday, love you, man, more in my inbox on my inbox on social media, on all my pages, on my cell phone, like all these messages still coming into like literally I've gotten tons of them while we're still talking. The idea that people can still feel alone, that's a problem. Our expressions of love have become so superficial and so fake and so for the purpose of looking a certain way. You know, it is it's just it's mind boggling to me. We've shed more tears for Tina Turner in her death than we've given her love in life.
And that's always.
This lady moved to the other side of the world because she didn't find love home.
That's always.
It is amazing to me. And I'm a person, if I love somebody, you will see them in my social media posts. I'm going to randomly post pictures. I share that. I randomly call people.
All people.
Not
That's
saying
what
I'm perfect. I call people. We are in a space where people don't pick up phones no more.
I do. I randomly call. I have a friend that I don't see. We may see each other two, three times a year, but it's still my best friend. It's my best friend in the world. Like we've been best friends since the Lord. When we was like 13, 12, maybe younger than that. And she
Hmm.
got married. She's had kids. I've got married. I've had kids. We've moved from here to there. We are literally within over 12 hours away from each other. But and we consistently, are on Facebook, under each other post, hey, this and hey, congratulations, I see your son and this and that. But every now and then we still manage to pick up the phone and say, hey, I just hadn't heard from you in a while. Just want to check up on you, see how you doing, how the family doing, how's the kids, how's everything going. It doesn't always have to be, a phone call of I need this, or oh my God, my life is just, and that's the only time I call you, or oh, it's mother, just things that people consistently call people for. Oh, I heard about your uncle Sue. I heard about your uncle Paul. I'm so sorry to hear, and that's the last time you hear from me. It's just random out of the blue communication. Hey, and I do that to everybody. I do that to everybody. And you can ask any and everybody, like I said, that I'm close with, that play a personal part in my life. If
Hmm.
you don't know kid for anything else, she gonna randomly call you. She gonna randomly call you. You
Hmm.
probably don't even be at me in the top of your head. But trust and believe you're gonna get a random call and just gonna throw you off. Like, hey, what's going on? You okay? No, I'm just calling. I just wanted to check on you. I just wanted to see how you doing.
Yeah,
What's
I
going
do
on
that.
in your life?
I think where life is, we're so caught up in time. I think that that's a very healthy thing to do, and I do that a lot with people I really appreciate, and not just the people who have done something for me, but I randomly do that, and I'll call people or I'll say hello in a crazy way to people that I don't get to interact with throughout the week or at some point during the week. But it really does, you know, it's sometimes it's that little expression,
Absolutely.
people you don't see. You know, I have a friend that lives in New Jersey. I communicate with her, randomly and periodically, but I have better connection with her than I had with people who live 5 minutes away from me.
I can understand that.
If she's a real cut and dry person, she messaged me, "Happy birthday, check your Zelle," and it was a birthday love offering, and it was just, and it's for me. I've never been a stuff person. I'll respect your time, even if it's via phone or FaceTime. I'll respect that more than you giving me a card. I've gotten cards that didn't have anything written in them. Just, and I get it. People are everything feels so fast paced today. But if
Mhm.
we subtract the sacrifice that it can take to actually connect with people, my whole brand has been based off of superficial relationships and the impact that has had on my life. So everything that I do now, whether it be any form of art, it's always about engagement. Whatever the activity is what it is, but it's all about interaction, communication, engagement. Because I feel like we're missing it. So we're missing it. It's
We
missing from us.
you got to think back to when you were younger, before you was able to get your first cell phone.
Hmm.
How much better? Think about how much better your relationships were.
It don't,
How
but
much better your
see, there
friendships
are
were.
people who don't remember that. Your
How much
children will
better?
never know a world without a cell phone.
Listen, me and the same best friend that I'm talking about that lived in Virginia. She lived in Virginia all her life. I lived back and forth between Virginia and Maryland.
Hmm.
You know our communication was when we was younger, and it's funny because I'm gonna tell you how we communicated it. So every weekend, her mother would bring her grandmother and my grandmother lived on in Park Heights. They lived on the
Hmm.
same block. They lived four doors down from each other. So that's what we would see each other. We wouldn't see each other till the weekend. Her mother would bring her down every weekend, Friday afternoon. As soon as she get out of school, I'd be waiting. Her mother would bring her from Virginia, and she stay over her grandmother's house until Sunday. My mother would bring me from wherever we was at. We lived in sometimes we lived in Virginia for a while. We lived in, I'm gonna say the most recent one was Cockeysville. After school on Friday, my mother would bring me from Cockeysville and drop me off at my grandmother's house, and we stay the weekend. And all even though we knew we was going to see each other by the end of that week, because they would do it every week faithfully. We was at our grandmother's house, even though she lived in Virginia. She was at her grandmother's house faithfully every weekend,
Hmm.
and our communication style, even though we knew we was going to see each other within 4 to 5 days, we write letters. We wrote letters
Hmm.
to each other. We would sit there and we would write like, "Hey, I can't wait to this what happened at school. This what happened." We would write letters, but what's even funnier is that we wouldn't mail them off. We would wait till we meet up on that Friday, and we would give each other the letter.
Mm.
And we would sit there next to each other and read the letter that the other person wrote.
Silly and Suge.
We
Read
literally
a letter to
sat
each
there and
other.
wrote letters.
But
I
that's
don't
that's
know what mine is. She probably
mm,
got hers because that girl keep everything. That girl be popping up and sending me pictures that I never even remember that we took. She was a picture person. She would bring her camera every time she came to Virginia. She'd bring her daggone camera, and she just randomly sends me these pictures, and I'm like, when was this even? I had boobs back then. Like, when was this? But so she might still have the letters. I can't tell you when mine
yeah.
was because we moved around so much, but that's what we did. That was a thing for us. We were only like 12, 13, but we wrote letters and literally gave them to each other in an envelope addressed to the other person, address to everything on it.
We had so much time on our hands as children. But like you and I remember. we can probably vividly remember. For me, I remember when I experienced a cell phone. I remember when my aunt let me use her car phone for the first time to call my mother. And like that was my introduction to what we know today as a cell phone. And I just remember that. But I also remember when I didn't. Prime example, I went to a real bougie little little restaurant for my birthday. And I my phone was dying, so I gave my phone to the waiter and they took it up to the desk to charge it. And I'm cool with that. Like it's not a need. And my friend was calling me and calling me and calling me. And once we were waiting on a lift to pick us up, I was responding to messages. And she was like, "You ain't had your phone the whole time." I said, "Why would you call me and you know I was at dinner?"
Right.
Like I said, I'm not attached to my phone in that way. But I
Right.
think some people it's life or death for them.
It is. It
When you
just
don't
the rest
respond right away, it's murder. Like you playing games, you bluffing. Cause I didn't respond to you
on
in
just to
seconds.
sit there in a restaurant and just look around you and see people actually on dates. People actually on dates
Hmm.
and they like this.
My
No
friend who took me
communication.
out, our
No
waiter, he
communication.
when our waiter came to the table to take our order, he walked away, and my friend was like, "You know what? He's always on his phone." And I was like, "How do you know?" He said, "Because look at the way he's talking. Look how fast he's talking."
Mm.
He said he has no like he literally was, "Hey, do y'all need anything? Because if y'all need anything, if you need some water." And he was like he does his phone. So funny. At the end, I went to use the restroom, and I when I went to push the door open, it felt like somebody was standing there. So when I pushed it harder, it was him
On the
doing
phone.
what on his cell phone.
In the
I
restaurant.
said I was laughing because my friend he's so much older than me. So I relish in when someone older tells you something because that means they've experienced something and they've seen patterns and they're just showcasing it to you. And I'm used to that. My great grandmother used to do that to me all the time. But it was crazy how he was able to spot that. He was like, that boy is always on his phone. And he was just soon as I opened up the door, he was like sneaking away in the bathroom to use the phone. And
Phone.
I was laughing so hard. I know he probably thought I was crazy, but it was just crazy. So I always tell people, get yourself an older person to sit around. And a lot of the stuff that we're struggling with right now, they'll explain it to you.
You are telling the truth. You
They'll
are
explain
telling
it to you.
the truth. The days
Hmm.
of going to the point where when we stayed in Maryland, I lived around the corner from my grandmother. Me and my husband lived around the corner from my grandmother in an apartment. I would go over there every day to the point where he was like, "You can't need to go to your grandmother's house every freaking day." I literally
Yeah.
went to my grandmother's house every day. She had a little chair in the corner next to her bed, and that's where she would sit in that chair and she would watch her stories.
Yeah.
Live for the day. Every day, I go around there to my grandmother's house and I sat in that chair and we would talk for hours till you see her do like this. She'd be talking and she hit one of these. And I'm
Hmm.
still talking, thinking I'm waiting for her to finish. And she hit one of these. I'm like, Mom, I'm
Hmm.
gonna go. No, 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 because I'm just resting my eyes, and then she go there again. I'm like, Mom,
But there are
I'm going.
children who won't ever experience that. For me, I really feel like I missed out on that because my great grandmother died when I was 15, and my grandmother was killed when I was probably like 20, 20, 21. So but even in that amount of time with them, we've experienced so much. There are people who don't have that relationship. I can tell to the day, the way people talk to each other, I can almost tell you ain't never had a relationship with a grandparent. Like I never knew any of my grandfathers, but I've had strong relationships with all of my grandmothers. And I know when someone has not had that, or
Really
somebody
carries,
wasn't raised to respect that.
and it literally carries over because I find myself doing the same thing with my mother. I
Hmm.
if she is gone out of my sight for too long, I'll go find her and she has a little bench at the bottom of her bed, and me and my sister go sit in there. It might not be talking about nothing. We just be sitting in there just having dumb random conversations about nothing. But it's like it's played is it's like it's the in my head, it's like it's a replay of when I used to go and sit and talk to my grandmother for hours. And
Yeah,
kids do that too. I noticed they do that too. I will go look all over this house for my daggone daughter, and she be sitting up here in
the
between
grandmother.
grandmother and grandfather,
Yep,
just running her mouth,
yep.
motor mouth, running. My kids, I will randomly be looking. If my kids disappear in this house, this is a pretty big house, but if my kids disappear in this house, and I done went outside, I done went here, I done went there, I done went in both bathrooms, I done went in the garage, I can't find out whatever, they gonna be more than likely in my mother's
Being there
room.
with the grandmother, yeah, that's
And
it's something, and I think even the topic that we're speaking to right now, nothing has changed under the sun. Some of the same problem, and I think adults overlook that what they've gone through, and they don't think that children, because things are so much easier now. It's not easy; it's just easier. And I think a lot of people overlook the fact that children are going through the same thing. The only thing that has changed is our ability to communicate and the respect we have for elders. It's just that's the thing that I've noticed has changed tremendous. Because you would have the hoodest, dustier person in the world, but they still had a certain level of respect around their their elders and elders in general. And that's just the thing that's I feel is missing. But yeah, I don't. Mm, mm.
sorry, my big on husband, he was boys even they've decided this summer that they want a gym membership to Lord to Jesus, Planet Fitness. And I told my husband, I said, do not give them a regular, don't
Mm.
give them our bank card. Give them a random card, like Cash App card or something. Do not give them our bank card because I don't know how many
They
customers
just get
call and
you.
say they will never stop charging you. And then they pop up with all these random charges. And what did he just do? He just took them and he was texting me. He said the price went up. I said, yeah, I could have told you that. The man said, right now we're running a special, but he done went and signed them up for the gym membership because
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know. I guess
they
they
have a.
get
They
buff
are.
before they get buff.
This will be some type of class action suit against them because that even there's no so and I think everybody is moving to this platform now where you have to jump through hoops. You can't just simply go to an app and cancel your membership. You gotta mail, email, wait
Email,
in order to
yes.
cancel
They will
something, and
still
they'll
keep on
continue to
charging you.
charge you.
They will still keep on
Yeah,
charging. That's the one thing I told him. I said, let me do it. Wait, let me go up there and do it because from my own experience, all these customers was calling and you see this lady, she did a membership for both of her granddaughters and they stopped going. And this poor old lady was on a fixed income and they literally kept charging. But it was crazy because the granddaughters were like a year apart from each other. But you can see the price right up underneath each granddaughter, but it was a different price. Like one was being charged like 15.49, another one was being charged like 10 something. And then you
because
go
when
to
you
the next
do,
one.
so that's why a lot of people are going to the bank draft method because what happens is they can I don't know if they can directly tell how much you have in the bank, but they'll charge you a lesser amount to get something
To get something. Yep.
and then continue to charge you for the balance. And that's
They
how a lot of systems are doing stuff now. I don't
yep.
know who did that to me. I think the first time that happened to me was I think it was my credit card company. And I was like, bitch, how you gonna take a different amount out? But the when I call customer service, they said they'll take out a lesser amount. They'll go
Yep.
to half. And Planet Fitness, what they'll do to you is if you don't pay your annual fee, they'll keep charge. So if the card that I gave them, if so happen is the amount that is my monthly fee, they'll still take that monthly fee and you'll still be a member there. and
Mhm.
then they'll try to still capture that annual fee. But
And
they
then
have
it's
gotten over. I will never use them again.
a such thing as something that I've found since I've been to the bank, and I don't know if I can actually tell this, but I'm going to because I'm going over the mortgage, so I don't care no more. But it's a such thing. So they can actually do what's called a Visa opt-in, where even if you call, shut your card down to try to stop that fee, they can their system somehow is able to update your card with the
Hmm.
new card information.
Yep.
But what you can do, in case a lot of people don't know, if you call your bank, and I don't know if every bank does it, but if you have a particular bank, they can do a Visa opt out. So if something like that happens, like for instance, Planet Fitness and they BS, if something like that happens where they keep on like updating Visa through Visa, they'll do a Visa update. You can ask for a Visa opt out. That way, that if you have canceled reoccurring charges from a company, they can block them from continuing to charge your card.
I and I'm sure that this all came from that damn Trump because it's just gotten too so scammy now that it's so hard. I I had signed up for a it's this app. It's called Better Me, and hashtag I'm a at them in this show. Better Me is an app, so it helps you to. It sends you alerts to drink water and or do certain health things. So it basically is like a health journal. And I was like, this gonna be too much. And when I realized what the price was gonna be, I canceled it. They snatched the money from my Cash App account. Now Cash App has gotten more savvier, so
Mhm.
they you can do automated customer service now. So
Yeah.
they go through the process, and then they sent me back a message saying this this charge was valid and your claim has been denied. And I'm like, how the fuck? So I
Mhm.
go to Better Me. Better Me doesn't have um a voice customer service, so you have to email them. I've been emailing them for the past month, and I still don't have my $31 back.
Do a dispute with your bank, or you did one
Well,
on.
it was through Cash App. It wasn't through my bank.
Yeah, Cash App. You might. So is your Cash App linked to your bank account?
No, I don't do
I
that
was
because
getting ready to say.
Cash App do shit like this. So back, and I think it's changed now where you can choose not to do it. But back, if you did have a bank account attached to it, because I would do it like if I use my Cash App doing like a vending event, I would transfer the money and it would transfer faster if you had the bank attached to your card, and that was the only way
Right.
you could transfer money. And they would, if somebody charged your Cash App card, they will go into your bank and grab the money to pay them. Like, bitch, I didn't give them permission to do that.
I've seen that. A lady
So
had that happen to her. I've seen that. I
it's
always
been
take it
so
out. When I'm
scammy.
done with Cash App, I take every. I take every. If I need to use my Cash App, I need to attach it to my bank. As soon as I'm done, I snatch my cards out because my brother that's in jail. He uses my Cash App to pay for things in jail. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I always snatch my bank information as soon as if my father sends him money and I have to send it to a random unknown person, I take
Hmm.
my information out of there. And all you getting is my cash balance. Whatever's in Cash App, that's all you getting. I won't leave my bank information in there because I don't know, to the extent of with all these Cash App scans and stuff. I
Well,
never leave.
I've had that happen to me where I woke up and my whole account was gone.
Mhm. I don't leave my
That's
information.
why even all fees, my business, I don't let people unless it's like in the moment. But like recurring fee, I don't let anybody send me money like that. Like if it's like a
Mhm.
pair of earrings somebody buying or something like that, we can do that. But beyond that, no. And if money comes in that account,
Amazon is another.
it goes. Amazon is what?
Amazon is not. I don't keep a card. Amazon has this really big scam. That's another one where I keep seeing the customers calling because Amazon is randomly doing these charges, or people is stealing these people information. and charging their accounts, um their
All
prime with a
businesses
Couser
are
card.
getting. That's why I'm real specific about
Stop
the
saving
how
your
I charge
cards.
people. Yeah,
Don't save your cards in those Cash App. I mean, Amazon. When I make my purchase, I'm done. I don't even
yeah. I
leave my
use a
card.
dummy card. I have a dummy card that I use for
And
all those purchases.
that's what I tell our customers. Do you have a dummy card? Do you have a Cash App or
But
something
see,
that
businesses are getting worse with it because they don't let you use those cards anymore.
they don't? A
A
lot of
lot
places
of a lot of
they
places
don't.
won't let you use like a Cash App card or I have Chime. Chime is a good card because their bank is accepted, like PayPal bank is accepted. So
Mhm.
it's very similar to PayPal. But you could save money. If you save a certain amount of money, you can use it as credit. Like if you overdraw or you just need $20, it'll let you
Right.
use it, but it helps you to build your credit too.
Yeah.
And if you use direct deposit, you get your money a day earlier with Chime.
Yeah. I've heard it. I've seen the
Yeah.
commercial for that. That's a good one.
But I use that as my dummy card now because it's just easier to track that
But that's
without
another
having to
big
keep
that's
up with.
another big thing when we go back into, our topic about, um just signs of people. Look at all the people, when the pandemic first happened. Look at how many people took their own lives because they just couldn't deal with losing jobs. They couldn't deal with
Hmm.
the scammers that were out there. Like,
Yeah, it was stressful. Everything got heightened, and that includes scams. And
eh,
we have to. I'm a big component of giving grace now. We have to give people grace because you don't know what it took for them to be in front of you. When you dealing with people one on one or just people in your space, on your circle, you don't know what it took for them to be there. And everything that glitters is not always gold.
it's
And
not.
people,
It
because I'm one of those people, not that, so I didn't become broke really until the end of the pandemic. So broke for me used to be I had a savings account and I had at least 3 months of my rent saved up. If I didn't have anything else beyond that, I was broke. Anything extra than that. But understanding what broke is to people, and I understand you don't want anybody weighing you down or bringing you down. You dealing with a lot, but your loved ones should be in a separate category than just the random individuals you don't know. And now we're looking at our loved ones as beggars and bums on the street.
absolutely
Say no if you don't have it to spare or give, especially when it comes to money or your time. Say no. You don't owe anybody an explanation. Just say no. But treating somebody like, how dare you? How dare you go through something and expect for somebody to help you? Like I just this young lady I know she sells insurance, and part of her new marketing strategy is making people feel so dumb for not having money to bury people with. And I said, well, you have to understand. Like I remember the nickel and dime policies, and a lot of people were scammed because they really had insurance.
right.
And then when that elder, my great grandmother was like this. She had a nickel and dime policy. That nickel policy was worth $800. That dime policy was like $1,500. Now we were lucky because we had a funeral home in our family, so we were able to, barter and figure things out and get discounts or stuff be free. But had we not had that, it would have been difficult. But people are struggling because a lot of insurance companies were getting over with people. They were if they found out you got sick later in life, they found a way to keep you from getting your money. Or remember when insurance agents used to come out to your house
House,
and
yeah,
collect your money? A lot
yeah.
of them people didn't turn that money in. So when something did happen to a loved one, they didn't have it. So people have just grown accustomed to not trusting, like they
Right.
don't trust the medical field. We don't trust insurance agents.
I remember.
So
I can tell you how many
Engaging. Mm-hmm.
letters. I can't tell you how many pieces of mail. Everybody know. Everybody had that grandmother that had that cabinet where all the important mail was. All the important
Uh-huh.
mail.
Yep.
I can't tell you. My grandmother passed away. How many? We could not figure out what policy. We literally had to call every individual insurance to figure out what policy was actually legit. Like, she had so many different pieces of mail with different policies. We like, where did you even get this one from? Like,
They
how?
just mailed it to her. But you can go to, often there's a, if it's a bigger funeral home, they typically can go through, they know how to go to the insurance database. So they can tell where you have insurance. Um, or you can go to any one of those policies she had. If you call that company, they can go through the database and tell you where else she has insurance or where
Well,
else they have
luckily,
insurance.
I'm pretty sure a lot of those insurance envelopes that we found in that little cabinet, I'm pretty sure a lot of them were, like you said, salesmen that just knocked on the door. They sent them to her and told her it was such a great deal. But luckily,
Hmm.
my mother had found this really great insurance company, really nice lady. And she actually helped her sign up for legitimate insurance. So she did end up actually having life insurance when she passed away. So and
But
end
all
up
those policies probably still exist though. Y'all, it's
you
probably
right.
some of
I
those policies are
the
probably still
papers.
worth
For some
something.
reason, my mother gave me the papers, so I still have all the papers of all these different insurance policies. I just didn't know which way to go, so I just kind of put it to the side. But I still have them.
They
The,
probably, but and that's what happens. That money just sits there.
I yep.
It just sits there. So
That's
it's probably still, they may not, because she probably opened up so many of them. They're probably worth maybe a couple $100 here or a couple thousand here, but it's probably accumulated. Y'all probably got a nice piece of change sitting somewhere. All y'all would need is the death certificate to be able to cash them in.
Oh, I have to look into that, yeah, because I was sitting there like, why? And I don't know if my mother just wasn't thinking at the time, but I was like, why did she give me all these envelopes? I don't know what to do with this
Because
stuff.
that's what she
Like,
probably said. I don't know what to do with this stuff. Let me give it to her.
she got one for Prudential Life. She got one for what's that one Gerber Life? She had it's a couple
Mhm.
of envelopes, and I just kind of set it to the side in my little box where I keep my important information. But I ain't thought nothing else about it because I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. What
Well,
do
it's
I
a data. Well,
oh,
so my friend said there's a database of insurance companies, and there are a lot of insurance brokers. Insurance brokers, they deal with multiple insurance companies, so they know how to go into the database and pull and see where you have insurance, or see if you are a beneficiary on somebody's insurance.
okay? Yeah,
Um,
'cause I know when I'm like the firstborn, so she did all that insurance stuff. Like, make sure to include. I'll have to look. I really have to look. Like you said, I might be sitting on some stuff and I don't know nothing. I'm sitting here, poor on me, sitting here struggling. And
and
my
if she opened up a bunch of them, it was probably her sending $5 here or $30 there, and over time, you know, depending on what their rule is, and I don't know how much time it's been since she's passed, but they may ask you for, if there was a report, a death certificate report, or cause of death, and you just got to fill it out, and you'll get a check in the mail.
now you about to make me go back through these letters.
They be rich, y'all.
Cause she passed it to me like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I just for me, it's just like having those conversations. Though, like my mother, she still got a whole bunch of. She has a couple of life insurance policies that she's put me as a beneficiary. That she just said to me, I don't know how many times. She's like, you have to sign these papers. I need you to sign these papers, and I still haven't gotten around to doing it. I don't know why. I just don't want to have. I don't like to have those uncomfortable conversations. Like, why is we sitting here talking about death? I don't like that conversation. She's like, stop being silly and sign these papers. So I still got papers
Yeah.
to sign for her.
I had an incident where my one of my friends, his mom passed away, and we were friends with Carmelo growing up, and Carmelo actually paid for the funeral. And I remember by the time we got back home that day, I turned to my mother and was like, "I'm not friends with Carmelo like that. So are we good? Are we good?" And it's a hard. I don't like talking about it. Like I'm now
Right.
having to, buckle down in that space for myself. Because I don't think I'm gonna have any children. I don't. I don't think.
Right.
But you gotta. It's a hard conversation, but you gotta have it because that moment where you realize that person didn't have any help, and I've watched my aunt and my mother bury so many different people and have to spend money and don't have it for themselves now because they buried so many people, and it's definitely a burden. Um, but I think it's ways that we can better communicate with people instead of blaming people for
That's
not knowing certain things or not valuing certain things that
it.
they know. We got to stop using our knowledge as weapons at
Have
the end of the day. And that's our emotional knowledge, our physical knowledge. We cannot weaponize information.
have those uncomfortable conversations.
Hmm.
You have to be
Yeah.
able.
Yeah. So it is definitely it's definitely, we just have to do better. Just do better and we can move forward. And it's going to take time. It's no quick fix to this, but if we simply work on our individual relationships with people, I think we can begin to really fix the broken communication, the broken cycles, the generational trauma. We can break a lot of that stuff. So people don't have you have to be at wit end to choose suicide. And I'm gonna attach the suicide prevention number to this. I couldn't add it to the link yet, but get therapy. It's too many outlets out here. Get therapy. And that's
Abs-
not gonna fix everything, but it's gonna at least help you to organize all that you have built up.
Absolutely. And as far as friends and relatives and family is concerned, I hear that conversation so many times. I don't know how many times I've heard this conversation with the few deaths that I've experienced. Is
Hmm.
I hate the fact that we only get together when it's a funeral.
But that's used to be our family reunion time.
It
Very
was.
toxic, very toxic. But many of us have to admit that was our family reunion time. But now, in the two funerals I went family wise, back to back, and these wasn't on two different sides, total, it probably was 60 people total that came. We have a much bigger family than that. People didn't want to take off from work, people
Work.
didn't want to come into town, and the funerals reflected it.
They got to do all this to take off and make arrangements to travel and
Hmm.
but the biggest thing is, but here's the funny thing about it: the same type of people, those same family members, you let us plan a really good, nice family reunion somewhere in a nice place. Everybody gonna make arrangements.
Hmm.
You
People
gonna
do what
make
they make time
arrangements.
for what they want to do.
The whole 150 some family members is gonna show up.
Yep. Or
Let
guess what? Or guess what? Even in that scenario, they don't show up. That's just the extreme of it.
I don't want to deal with that side of the family. They act too bougie. I don't like their attitude, their personality. They
Hmm.
clingy, they clicky.
Yeah.
Family is family.
It is. You probably got a label that they got for you.
They
That's
do.
how I always look at it. And
They
this
do.
was one of the first funerals that I've ever gone to where there was two separate events. My cousins, they didn't have any let's go repast. They didn't have any of that. My uncle, it was two separate places, and I was like, this is, you lost a sibling. Get it together.
They did have a name. I'm trying to think what they used to call me when I was young at the family. What they used to call me? It wasn't bougie. It was something similar to that.
That was my label. I
But
was called bougie
it was similar
most
to.
of my life.
It wasn't a Diddy. It was very similar to that. But they literally would call me that. They called me that to my face. Like they would tell my mother that, like, your daughter is just so, she's just so, like it wasn't
Particular. She's
bougie.
so the old people used to say, "Oh, they so particular."
Yeah, it was something of
She's
that nature.
so
Like
particular.
in the world. Well, I hate when I used to go to the fair. You would say like, you don't eat. Yes, you eat.
If only they knew.
Out of a house at home. I couldn't stand when I get to the family reunions. That's the first thing they want to say. But as soon as my mother would send them pictures and say, "Oh yeah, she just got finished doing a fashion show in New York," or "Oh yeah, she did." "Oh, you ain't tell me that." "Oh, now you was just concerned about my eating. Now you want to come out and see." So,
Mm.
yeah, she's a model. Yeah, she's a model. Oh, she is. That's why they would always call me bougie. It was something similar to that. They would always call me, and particularly because I was always small, the small one. I was just always small and petite, but I was also a model. My mother had me a model,
Mm.
and they would just talk about, she don't eat. She look like she don't eat. A big girl, give me two plates and stop playing with me. I'm getting ready to eat my two damn plates. But it was particularly the other thing, and she hit. Oh yeah, she's got a fashion show in New York coming up. Oh, she did. Y'all don't tell us. Y'all don't give us enough time. I don't want you coming to my fashion show. You was just talking about me in front of my face, talking about I look hungry.
Mm, mm.
I
And
don't
see,
need your damn
that's the
support.
beginnings of separation, because now you're
Your damn
reacting to what
support.
they're putting out there.
Your damn support. I'm fine.
See, and that's where family started to break off. I'm fine. I don't need you. And
Right.
then we just separated, and it's hard to get back with family that you've had such a distance from because you don't know them.
But it's
With
like at the
cousins you
same
don't know, and
time.
their children and their children.
But it's like at the same time, be mindful of how you talk to people. Like the conversation that I had when we got into the holidays and getting around family for the holidays. Stop talk. Be mindful of how you speaking to people. You don't always have to ask Cheryl that we everybody knows Cheryl come to the damn family gatherings without a man. You don't have to keep asking her when you gonna bring a man. It is none of your concern. She might
Yeah.
just not want to bring a man to be around y'all. If you ever
But
thought
but sometimes I think some of those conversations, because I think it helps people to get rid of toxic mentalities also. And it just we have to begin to have those conversations in family and not just brush them under the not necessarily you need a man, or do you have a boyfriend, or who is that man you live like. I think some of those things are healthy in that it helps people, especially the older people, to break down the ignorance that they have about living a certain way.
right,
Because we're good for just brushing stuff under the rug and not addressing it and acting like your daughter don't have a whole girlfriend or your son don't have a whole boyfriend, or like break down some of them walls and talk
right,
about stuff so you're not ignorant and you're not saying ignorant things anymore.
right. If at least even if you're gonna be like, I seen a video on Instagram where I don't everybody done probably seen this video. That video was funny, but at the same time it was sad. I felt bad for the mother. It was a stud, and she had a box, and she walked over there to her mother at the front of the table. They was having a family gathering, and she was like, "Yeah," she was like, "Mommy, I finally did something that you've been asking me that's gonna make you proud of me." And when she opened the box, the stud, it was a sonogram picture, some baby shoes, and it was like a little message. And the one on the loudest one that you can hear in the video is like, "Wait, that's a whole boy. How that happened? How you having a baby? Wait, you pregnant?" That one on, and everybody's like laughing, but you see one person arm kind of pulling the arm like, "Shut up." And she just studies screaming like, "Wait, you a boy. I thought she was gay." But
Mm,
it just kind of took away from the mother's excitement because the mother actually stood up grabbed the daughter that was the stud, and like she cried with happiness. And it was like that one aunt just kind of ruined the moment, because the whole video, everybody reflected off that aunt that's screaming these, and like,
Hmm.
she a boy, you, that's why it was posted. It was posted for the effect of everybody laughing at the aunt, because the message on the Instagram post was like, everybody got that one aunt, that it says something along that lines. And that's what the video was really reflecting, the aunt. And it took away from the actual event that made the mother happy, that the daughter and mother interaction, it took away from
Yeah.
all of that.
But that's how we do now. We laugh at everything, and that's how we deal with it. I've watched more adults in my adult life tease other adults for things like that. And it's like, at what point are you going to grow up? At what point are you going to? And we're the argument back is always, oh, y'all so sensitive. No, you are doing things to purposely hurt somebody and expecting for
Everybody,
them to just take it.
yeah. Like my feelings, if I was
And
that
that's
girl in that video, my feelings would have been hurt. If I was the mother of the stud, I would have been. I don't know. I don't think she heard her because she was so in the moment and she was at the top of the table. But everybody else heard her
right.
because you could hear everybody like, shh, Aunt Janice, shh, and you could see the person grabbing her. So I don't think she heard it. But if I was that stud, my feelings would have been hurt. I'd have probably ran in the corner and cried somewhere.
Hmm.
Like, dang, that's messed up. If I was the mother, my feelings would have been hurt because they said that was the aunt, which means she was more than likely the sister of
To the
the
mother.
the stud.
Hmm. Yeah. But look, but what I see that is missing from that, who stood up and said
Who
something
stood
and
up
corrected
and
her.
came? That's what I was.
And that's what happens, and but it's reality, because that's what happens. Nobody ever stands up for those individuals. And that person has to either deal with it or go extra hard, and now they're the problem.
Now they're the problem. I was getting ready to say that. Now
Hmm.
they're the problem. They're the problem. But that's what I was getting to when you were saying, having those conversations about, oh, you when they know, your daughter is dating a whole girl. If you don't support your kids and you brush it under the rug, this is what it opens. It
Yep.
opens. It opens the
Yep.
stage to having that aunt that's able to say what she wants.
Hmm.
It
That's a
opens.
that's a very that is the point of the year. I'm a you get the award for point of the year, because especially in our family circles, our friend circles, our work circles, how people deal with you when you're not there is a open door for how new people will come in and treat that person. That's how you can tell when people are having conversations about you,
About you, right?
because they don't say anything to that new person. So this must have been a conversation somewhere else. Y'all have had this type of conversation somewhere else. You just don't want it to be seen in front of the person.
Right.
So that aunt just said that before. Those cousins just said that before. Those are the things that get to me, because we have to protect each other, because for too long many of us have been out in just the world by ourselves on our own, and nobody addresses anything, and a lot of problems could be alleviated or prevented if we said things, if we communicated. And there it goes again, communication is at the central of everything, center of everything,
It is.
because we don't effectively communicate the stuff we like, we don't like. We let people talk to us any kind of way, and then one day we just explode. And it's typically on somebody who may have said something jokingly, but that's the person that's gonna get all of it. But yeah, any closing remarks?
No, that's our show, guys. Just remember, I don't know if you shared it yet, the suicide hotline, prevention hotline.
I'm gonna post it in the comment section, in the message, the description.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to, just say, just be mindful of those family members and friends that you kind of pass off as, just I don't want that energy, like Nate said, coming in. I don't want that energy around me. I don't deal with that person. They just give off too much bad energy. Just be mindful about those things. I know everybody want to come into this new year, and everybody started off with, if you ain't on my same energy, if your energy ain't matching mine. But sometimes people just need you to be there. Sometimes, and it's overwhelming, especially when you see those same people posting the same thing. Yeah, my back hurt, my car broke down, my basement flooded, and now I need this, and I need bus money, the bus stop. You know what I'm saying? I know it's frustrating to see those people, but it dig deeper. Or just give even if it's just to, you know, even if it's just to reach out, just to say, hey, how you feeling today? How's your day going? Oh, I just thought about you. You were on my mind. It don't have to be much. You don't have to get into the specifics. Oh, what happened? Why your car broke down, and why this in the shop? And it don't have to be, oh, because I know she get ready to get to asking me for some money. Just a simple conversation. Hey, you were on my mind. I thought about you.
Yep.
Something like that, so minimal like that, can really change a person's situation that could have really been right there on the edge of jumping off that bridge. But because
Mm-hmm.
you called that day and it was just as simple as saying, you know what, girl, you was on my mind and I thought about you. What
Yep.
you been up to? Something as simple as that can turn them around and make them feel like, man, I ain't think nobody was thinking about me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was almost ready to jump because I didn't think nobody was thinking about me. So just be mindful of just those things and have more empathy. Empathy. I keep have more empathy for people and understanding. You know, that's all I got.
Well, just simply put yourself, even if you haven't personally experienced that thing or that event, put yourself in their shoes. How would you want to be talked to? How would you want to be handled? How would you want to, you know, would you want your friends talking about you behind your back about something they could all meet up with you and open up the conversation to help you?
Absolutely.
We're going through things right now that are just fixable,
Some
doable.
people still
We're going
recovering
through
from
things that are
headaches.
not so bad that we can't deal with it, that are preventable. Somebody dying alone is preventable.
Absolutely.
Pride is, yes, pride is a horrible thing because it keeps us from asking for help. But you know that person different. You know you know that person out of the blue, not calling, not showing up for 5, 6 years. That's not their character. So it might be something that's going on. Last thing you need to do is make it about you.
Absolutely.
Like the phone line works both ways.
It
Pick it
does.
up and just catch up. You don't have to make any big grandiose promises. Pick up your phone, go knock on that door. You know, depending on your relationship with them, send them a Facebook message. Hey, how you doing? Don't be so routine. So, I think social media has made dates and times and holidays and birthdays so routine that we
Mm-hmm.
can miss them. Or we
Mm-hmm.
can send a very generic, how you doing? Happy birthday, happy Kwanzaa, happy, and it's not even thing that we think about. Now we don't even have to think about birthdays. If they on your Facebook page, it automatically, so I don't have to think
Yeah.
about it.
Yep.
It just happens. And
It
we
do.
gotta start thinking better. Like that's why every gift I give now is something I made. Because I want you to know I put the time into it.
Put the time
I
into it.
thought about it.
Yep.
It's not just, let me go get them a card on my way to this dinner they having. I literally got about 5 cards that didn't have anything but my name written on the card on the envelope. And I didn't say anything. I'm gracious. I'm grateful for the thought. But do better. Let
Right.
people know. Like slow down. If you planned ahead, you would not have had to rush that day.
Yeah.
And rushing typically costs you more than if you planned it out.
So you
So
have to write those notes in those
I
cards.
know
Just
we went all over the place today with just this topic, but a lot of the stuff that we talk about contribute to people feeling like they're alone and
um,
ultimately doing something about it, whatever that something is, whether it's overindulging food, drugs, alcohol, sex, or simply killing themselves.
absolutely.
You know, I say pick your poison. What's your poison?
Food.
Um, I'm sitting
Food.
here looking at these
You like me?
new wings, the containers from the new wings that Popeyes was selling.
She like
And like
me.
I can't do this no I can't eat like this no more.
I
I
can.
wake up too hard.
No, I need to. I'm starting to change my eating habit because of the fact that I'm getting older. Those
Oh
health thing
no, no,
issues
baby,
that
let me
I
tell you
have
something. You better
had.
change it now because
That's
in a
what I
few
say.
minutes it's gonna change for you. I'm
That's
here
what
to
I'm
tell you. I
trying
had
to
some
do.
ice cream the other day, and when I say me and ice cream are divorcing and the reasons are irreconcilable differences. I'm
I
telling you.
am. I definitely am. I have so many friends around me that are way younger than me that are on blood pressure pills, and I'm like, what is going on?
What they
So I
putting in that food. That's what they putting in that. This ain't the same meat that we was eating 20 years ago. It ain't. They telling you what's in the ground beef is some gum product.
I have been blessed up until I have been blessed thus far, and I'm almost 40 to have not been prescribed any type of medication for high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, not nothing like that. I've not had any of those issues. So even though it runs in my family, and now my mother
Hmm.
just with this new disease that nobody in the family has had, so we still trying to figure that out. She has MS, and nobody in the family has ever had MS.
They said
Um,
that comes from seafood.
oh, okay. Yeah, she ate a lot of seafood. My mother was a seafood lover. She definitely was.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's really changing my thought process about how I'm eating now and making me be more self conscious, especially because my husband keep yelling at me every day and saying, I don't know, but did you drink your water today? Because you ain't leave me with these kids. So that's his go-to every day
Or
to
they
tell me
going
that.
with you. They going with you. We all going.
Every day he come home and that's his thing. Did you drink your water today? Did you take your vitamins? Did you
I'm
walk
telling
today?
you.
You
I'm
ain't leaving
telling
with
you. You don't
these
feel
kids.
it, but you like, and I don't feel like the eating thing has been big on for me because I one of the things is I never was an overeater. It's just when I ate and what I ate.
Right. That's
Mhm.
me too. Like I'm not like I like to eat. I'm a foodie. I love to eat.
Mhm.
That's my go-to. If we're going on vacation, I need to know where we're eating. I need to know all the places where we're eating. I am a foodie. And that's the biggest thing, food for me, because I have maintained the same weight and I haven't had any health issues that have, kind of made me have to pick a particular diet. I just
Yeah.
kind of been eating what I want in the way I want, and I know it's going to affect me
Skinny
soon.
people, skinny people get diabetes and
I know,
high blood pressure, and
I know. That's what I'm saying. The fact that I have been like I eat everything because I've not been affected by anything
hmm
medically
yeah,
to stop. So it's even more harder. Like, what am I stopping for? I like to eat. I need food, but I'm really just working on being more self conscious about what I'm eating and being more mindful. So I'm starting to eat better. I'm still walking, doing my walks and stuff, but I'm starting to eat better. I've actually just started doing the water at night before I go to bed. I used to just
at
do soda.
night.
No, I'm talking about throughout the day. But before I go to bed, I
Oh,
always
I
drink
was about to
a
say,
bottle of
girl,
water before I go to bed.
that
No,
pee is gonna be lethal in the morning.
before I go to bed, I always end my night with a bottle of water. I drink a bottle of water until I
You
put
should
my.
start your day like that too, because in the morning time, it
I
starts your
do. Well,
digestive system.
I start. I drink a bottle of water before I even drink my coffee because I take those morning walks. And of course, if you know when you take a walk or you do a run, even riding a bike, It makes
Mm-hmm.
me thirsty. So I do water is the beginning
Mm-hmm.
of my day. Then I have
Because
my coffee.
you're sweating, so it's depleting your liquid.
But I always make sure at night, that's what I end my night with. I don't drink no coffee. I don't drink no tea. I don't drink
Mm-hmm.
water.
But in the morning time, you ever jump up out the bed, take a shower, and then you gotta go to the bathroom? The water touching your face or your
Mm-hmm.
skin activates. That's like if you wake up a baby or a senior citizen in the morning. First thing you need to do to them is either give them some water to drink. You need to give them water to drink, but also like give them like for a baby, wipe them with a baby wipe. That sensation will help their digestive system to wake up because it's been sleep all night. And then as soon as you take a bath, and you like, man, I
Right.
just I just took a bath. Now I gotta go to use the bathroom because you just activated that in your system. That's why it's great to have a sleep schedule because now your digestive system, when you do drink water and consume liquids, your body is able to, regulate itself and be on a normal reg. I'm when I say I'm learning all this shit, I knew it by being a nurse, but now I'm having to apply it. And I'm tired. I'm tired of drinking water. I am so tired of drinking water. I
That's
just
all
want
my
to eat
son
the way
told
I want to eat without getting heartburn and indigestion and upset
me.
stomach. Like
Now,
I want to be able to eat normal.
my son Kylie, the one that runs track, he is very health conscious. He only eats healthy foods. He only eats salads and stuff. Like nobody has ever said anything about his weight because he's very toned. He's toned. He's in weight. I mean, in shape. He runs. He
Hmm.
exercises all day. He's like an exercise fanatic. He's out there at 8 o'clock in the morning. On the weekend, he's out there in the garage. He's lifting weights. He does his runs in the morning. But he's very like health conscious, and I don't know where he got it from because me and my husband are not like that. He drinks water all day long. This child will drink water before he does not. He If you give him a choice, soda over water, he's gonna pick water. He drinks water all day long. He runs through bottles of water. And it's crazy because me nor my husband are like that. So I don't know where he built this routine from. And
But
he's not.
it could be a coach, it can be a health teacher, it can be something he watched. And on the flip side of that, boys are just as subconscious about their bodies as
Mhm.
girls are. And
Yeah.
it can be a real thing, especially if you're going to school and because he's an athlete now, he's surrounding himself with other people who may be maturing even faster than he is, or he may see things and that'll spark good positive change, but it also can spark negative change because then you start comparing yourself to other people, and that can be or it could be something as simple as a little girl said something to her, or a little girl said something to somebody else. So now he want to look like, but it could be anything. But just be thankful that he's doing positive things, and just look out for, the too conscious, too overly exercising, overly, you know, thinking about eating a certain way because boys have just as many body issues as women have.
Right. You definitely right. I do look out for
Hmm.
that. But that's the end of our show, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. If you want to become a sponsor, you can DM us on Facebook, Instagram, or you can send us an email podcast@gmail.com. Black Roses should be tuning in next week with us. The next week, I'm gonna tune in, but the show might be a little shorter because it's my birthday weekend. So I got some things
Whatever,
planned.
them June Gemini.
I
It's
am.
so
I'm
particular.
already signed up for. So they have a Hawaiian show in Daytona. So I think I'm gonna do that. I'm thinking about doing a boat dinner. I'm thinking about that. I just want to do some. But I don't want to be. I don't want to do Nate. I don't want to do a Nate and just be. Oh, I want to do everything on my birthday. I just want to do everything. So
I
I have
just
some
didn't
things
plan
planned.
for it. Like this
You
year was just
right.
not planned, but Airbnb has boats now. Like they're even here. There you can go to Airbnb and get a boat.
Now you might not catch me on a jet ski. You might not catch me in a kayak, but you're gonna catch KD doing
No, they
some.
like regular sleep. Like you can sleep in them, sleeper
Oh,
boat.
okay. Oh, okay.
Like you can get a regular boat. now on
I'm
Airbnb.
excited about the Hawaiian show. I'm very excited. So I might do a live on I.Am.She Facebook. So y'all look out to that. Look out for that because my mother sent me videos from when they went last year. So I'm very excited about doing the Hawaiian show. So I might go live for y'all a little bit.
Just
But
let me
outside
know,
of that,
and
huh?
I'll figure it out for you.
But outside of that, y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy yourself. If you have not bought your ticket, I've already bought my ticket. Me and my daughter are going to go see and support the Little Mermaid. So make sure you guys go out and support Chloe and the Little Mermaid. And we will see you guys next week. If Black Roses is not on here next Saturday, she will be fired. So you will no longer see her. She got one more time to call out. But
Exactly.
this is a regular job. She got one more time to call out, and she will be getting her pig slip. But
Every Friday, I'm gonna be looking at that Instagram and seeing what it's hitting on. I'm gonna be writing them comments. I hope you get your rest.
we'll see you guys next Saturday. Thank you guys for tuning in.